Every day in our lives, we are responsible for making countless decisions. From choosing which coffee shop to visit in the morning, to decide which series to binge at night, we are pulling the trigger on inconsequential looing decisions every day. But there are some decisions which weigh more than other. Some might even hold a life in balance. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. One of such impossibly hard decisions people are forced to make is whether to have an abortion or not. A procedure like this can be traumatic for everyone who is involved. Usually, once the deed is done, that's supposed to be the end of it. But that wasn't the case with this unlucky lady, as this decision of hers soon came back to haunt her. Not only did this aborted baby survive the botched abortion, she was out for answers. When a person is adopted, they are often left with many questions about their birth parents. Eventually, at some point in their lives, this curiosity grows so much that they are forced to look for the answers. When this woman approached her parents with the question about the conditions of her adoption, the answers left her thoroughly horrified. Melissa Oden weighed no more than 3 pounds at the time of her birth in Ohio during the advent of 1977. She was told that her mother, a 19-year-old teen, found that she was pregnant during her sophomore year of college. Alone and struggling financially, she decided that the best course of action would be to get an abortion. 8 months pregnant, she went to the hospital to receive a saline solution abortion. This process has been discontinued due to its brutality. The procedure of this abortion is quite gruesome. First, they inject a solution, toxic fluid, straight into the amniotic sac. This solution is necessarily meant to kill the baby by burning them outside in. Melissa sat in this vat of poison for 5 days straight, until it was time for her to be stillborn. Once the 5 days had passed, her mother returned to the hospital to have the final steps of the procedure performed. She continued on to give birth to what the doctors believed would be stillborn. After the delivery, they tossed her in the bin with other biological wastes. But not long after she was discarded, a nurse heard a faint cry coming from the bin. Following this discovery, the NICU nurse worked tirelessly to save this poor baby. In one of Melissa's interviews, she shared the story of the first time when her parents saw her. The first time that they laid eye on me, lying in the incubator, they fell in love with me. And you know, I always joke. I know I wasn't a pretty baby. I know that about myself, haha, she stated. In their heart, they knew she was special. Melissa goes on to express her thoughts on adoption in the same interview. She tells the interviewer that people should not think of children as a mere statistic. If they too are given the opportunity to live like other children, they wouldn't look much different from other kids. It's not a statistic, it's not just a choice, it's not just a right, it's a human being, she said. Melissa is now a very dedicated social helper. She can often be seen campaigning actively against Planned Parenthood, and also to stop any sort of funding of abortion clinics. But before she dedicated her life to this cause, she had to struggle with self-acceptance and self-love. Affected by many mental problems at the tender age of 14, Melissa spiraled into the devil's trifecta of alcohol, sex, and bulimia. Soon she realized how destructive this is for herself. She decided to rid herself of all these unhealthy habits. To rid herself of all these dirt, she looked to her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. She quotes that she turned to the grace of G0D in the most difficult time of her life. She also confessed that around this time, only she once again began being grateful for the life that she was given. Later, Melissa would find out that since her biological mother was only 19 when she found out she was pregnant, her mother thought that the best course of action would be to force her child to have an abortion, as neither of them were in a condition to take care of a baby. Like herself, Melissa's mother too had to go through extreme trauma. But if this was the case, how did she ignore the fact that Melissa was born alive? Melissa finds the answer to this question as well. It turns out her mother was sedated during the entire procedure. There was no way she could have known Melissa was born alive. Amidst all the chaos, everyone forgot to notify her. Melissa was curious to know her mother's side of the story, and so she began looking for her. Melissa today is a wife, a devout Catholic, a mother, and an author. A memoir titled Carried Me was published by her. It detailed the story of her life and how she became a pro-life advocate. Melissa confessed that although she had resentful feeling towards her mother, She continued to look for her for 17 years. But finally, when she became a mother herself, her heart softened. "I've always loved her, but my love for her deepens year after year," Melissa spoke about her mother. "And not just because the circumstances of her life and mine are now different. I know the truth about how she was forced into that abortion, but I think the older I get, the more I learn how to love people and to respect them for who they are," she added. Melissa told the interviewer that when finally the two of them met, it was everything I could have ever expected and more. Melissa's mother had spent 36 years of her life believing that this daughter of hers had died. And all this time, she suffered from guilt and grief. She was so disturbed by this incident that never again in her life did she have another child. She was overjoyed to meet Melissa again.